So what's up guys, it's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video. Sorry for the lack of videos the past few days, but I wasn't playing too much FIFA, so I couldn't exactly post anything. But yeah, we've been playing a few games with the 422 and found something that I really like in the current state of the game. Probably will change very shortly because of the gameplay update on FC24. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video and yeah, let's get right into it guys. If you guys want coins for FC24, make sure you check out MMOEXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself a lovely 5% discount. Okay then guys, so starting off with the tactics for the 422. For the defensive style, as always guys, I have this on balance. Does give me the best control over my defense, so if I want to be aggressive, for example, and press, I can do that, and then if I want to drop back and then be a little bit more passive, I can also do that. So balance is really good for me, but it might not be something you want to use, and that is absolutely fine guys. For the defensive width, I have this on 40. This is so we can primarily be nice and narrow and compact to stop all those attacks through the middle of us. We don't really want our opponent just being able to run right through the middle of us, but at the same time it is still important to maintain some of the width in the defense to cover the wider areas in case an opponent goes for an attack down the wing, which everybody often does in FC24 because it's like the only way to score a lot of the time. So yeah, you want to have a nice narrow width, but you don't want to make it too narrow either guys. Now moving on to the depth, there are a few different things you can do with the depth. Some people like to use the 71 depth thing where you get the automatic press and that, and I personally don't like it. It feels a bit too automatic, like I don't have enough control, but you can use it if you like. I prefer to use something like 60 where we still have that higher defensive line, but we have a bit more control over our defenders so we can press when we want to. So because I like to manually defend, 60 depth is a bit more suitable for me. If this depth is still a little bit too high for you guys, you can lower it even more, and that is absolutely fine. Just pick something that you are comfortable with. Now moving on to the build-up play guys, I would highly recommend balance because it is the most consistent form of build-up in my opinion. It allows you to pick and choose when and where you use each type of build-up. For example, slow build-up or fast build-up gives you more control, lets you pick and choose, which is why I think it's so good. That being said, like the other settings, you don't have to use this if you don't want to. For the chance creation guys, one thing I would say is an absolute must is direct passing. The reason direct passing is so important is because it's the only way to create chances in the meta of this game at the moment. It's the only setting which will allow you to break through those park the bus defenses, which a lot of people like to use. So when you use direct passing, your attackers will trigger these runs, and then once they've made that run, your opponent's defender will follow that run, and then your attacker will then track back so you can come back to them. So it's a little bit of a boring tactic, don't get me wrong, but it is very effective, and if you want to win more games, then I would highly recommend using it. With direct passing as well, your attackers often bunch up against the opposition defenders, meaning it's very easy to isolate a specific defender and take them on in a 1v1 play. So yeah, direct passing, completely meta, and I would highly recommend it guys. Now moving on to the width guys, because we're in FC24 and you have to go down the wing regardless of the formation you use, I've decided to go for a higher width in 55. Me personally, I do like playing through the middle as much as possible, but in this game there is a time where you just have to give up and start going down the wing a lot of the time because yeah, playing through the middle is just horrible, it's pain. So increasing that width, making it a bit higher, just makes attacking much easier, much more free-flowing because you can utilize the wings, which you can't do with a lower width as such. That being said, again, you can change the width whatever you want. For the players in the box guys, I have this on 5. This is bang in the middle. This is so we can get a few players into the box of course, but we don't overcommit everybody on our team to the point where we're going to get counter-attacked if we lose the ball. And yeah, for the corners and the free kicks, I have these both on 1, but you guys can change that to whatever you want. It's not a necessity to have these on 1. Now for the player instructions guys, on the 2 strikers I have them both on stay central and get in behind. Now we have them on stay central because we don't really want these players drifting out into the wings. They are our strikers, so it is important that they primarily take up those central positions so that they can always be relied upon. You know, if they're drifting out wide, they're not always going to be in the middle, they're not always going to be there to receive the ball to help you finish off your chances. So stay central I would say is very important, but again, don't use it if you don't want to. We also have them on get in behind, so we can utilize their runs to get in behind those high defensive lines, which people like to use, especially with that 71 depth tactic where the defensive line presses up very high. This instruction is very good for getting easy chances past those high defensive lines. If this feels a little bit boring and a little bit one-dimensional to you, you can switch one of them or both of them to mixed attack to give you a bit more control, a bit more freedom in the attack, and makes the build-up a bit better. But getting behind is probably the most meta option you can use. For the wide cams, guys, we have them on comeback on defense and get into the box for cross. Now, I'm not always the biggest fan of comeback on defense on the attacking players, but the thing I will say about it is it does guarantee you a lot more results. The reason being is the comeback on defense on these two wide cams will make it defend in a 4-4-2 shape. Now, the reason this is so good is because the 4-4-2 is really good at defending the narrow areas with the two centre mids and also good at covering the wider areas with the right mid and the left mid. So you have a really good defensive coverage that would not be present with this formation if you didn't have these two cams on comeback on defense. That being said, if you want to make it a bit more attacking, you can leave these two players on basic defensive support and that is fine, but to make it as meta as possible, comeback on defense is probably your best bet. We also have these players on get into the box for cross, so they don't hesitate to get into the penalty area and help us out there. I think this is a really good instruction because it makes them get more involved and creating chances is a lot easier in my opinion. Moving on to the left CDM, guys, I use a more defensive-minded midfielder here, somebody that will kind of just stay back and be defensive and bring that balance to the midfield. So on this player, we just leave him on stay back while attacking and cover centre. We don't exactly want this player going forward if he is the defensive player. There's no need. We want him to stay back and be as defensive as possible and then cover centre so we can ensure that he does cover those central areas, as like I said, he doesn't need to cover the wing as we've got the cams coming back to do that for us. For the right CDM, guys, I use a more box-to-box style player. So this is somebody that will obviously attack and defend, act as a bit of a transitional player to help us go from defense to attack. So on this player, we leave them on the default settings to give them that freedom. We don't want to restrict them to just doing specific things. We kind of want to let them cook. You know, we want to just let them do whatever they need to do. And it is really useful to do this, I think. Somebody with a high work rate is fantastic at this because you get the maximum work rates out of the players. So they'll be really good at attacking and defending. The only important thing is cover center so that they primarily cover those central areas, as like we said, they don't need to cover the wing. Now moving on to the fullbacks, guys, on your more attacking minded fullback, doesn't matter which one, I would suggest balanced attack and overlap. This is really useful because it gives you an extra option when you're attacking. The 4-2-2, even if you have a higher width, can feel a little bit narrow, and that's not always a good thing because sometimes you need to stretch out your opponent's defense to give you that extra option and to give your narrow players more space to go through the middle. So by putting this player on balanced attack and overlap, it stretches out the opponent's defensive line, gives your other attackers more space, and just gives you another angle overall. It's really useful just to have one fullback going forward. But yeah, for the other fullback, the more defensive one, stay back and overlap. This is so you have at least 3 defenders back at a time, so you're nice and defensively sound. But when you send them on a run forward, they'll make the overlapping runs to add that extra width for you as well. So, you know, this is just a really good instruction. For the 2 centre backs, we leave them alone. Obviously, we don't want to touch them. They're fine as they are. And the keeper, if you like, you can put them on comes for crosses and sweeper keeper, but I prefer to just leave them on balanced. But yeah, guys, they are the tactics and the instructions for the 4-2-2. If you have found this video useful, please be sure to drop this video a thumbs up as it does really help me out. Also, don't forget to sub to the channel and turn on those notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside, guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.